Mike.
All right, let's talk about the storyline. You got big play Tennessee, the Lamborghini, the Porsche, the Lotus. I don't care. The big play, score anywhere on the field, and you got methodical Georgia, the Honda. You know, get you where you want to go.
Yep.
You know it's dependable.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see all the big plays out of Georgia. It's more going to be up and down the field, up and down the field.
I'm not sure Honda is.
Is that the story?
I would say more. Look, I'd go with Donnie. I'd say it's a Toyota Tundra. I mean, that is an offense that will run over you given half a chance.
It will indeed.
And if you give them their choice, they will run over you.
Yeah.
If you make them choose one or the other.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to a storyline also. Can Georgia run the ball and control the game? You know, we've talked about this just about every week. If you're going to beat Tennessee, you got to keep the ball away from them. Can Georgia run the ball against that rush defense against Tennessee as well as they've played this year and control this game?
I think they're susceptible, and I think if you look at what Missouri did to Georgia on run defense, there's some indications there of what you would need to do to try to stop Georgia. At the same time, Georgia's had almost a month to look at that film itself, and it knows what it did wrong, and it knows who did not play well that game. I don't think it's going to fall into that same trap. So I think Tennessee has its work cut out for it, and if they cannot stop that run game, then this thing will be decided right there, because that's where, if Georgia just keeps pounding away at it and can do what they want the second half running the ball, it's going to be a lot like last year's.
Yeah. Coach Trail, nobody, and I mean nobody. I mean absolutely nobody outside of Pittsburgh, the first game of the year, has had any answer for Tennessee's offense. Here you got Kirby Smart, another kind of a defensive.
Yeah.
What makes you think that Kirby Smart in Georgia will be any different than anybody else on this schedule that we've seen in the last 8 weeks?
I think you'll see a smarter guy. I mean, it doesn't take a genius, really. You look at Tennessee, you got to stop the wide receiver. I mean, he can't go out there. I mean, it was embarrassing last week that he would be so wide open and going into the game. I mean, he's the hottest receiver in the country right now, and they never did a thing different on him.
Yeah.
I mean, they lined up like he was just another guy, and he just ran right by them. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I've never.
With not a whole lot of effort.
Yeah. Well, heck, he could play a little league ball and get that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about Tennessee, top offense in the country, against a Georgia defense.
Yep.
Top Georgia defense. You're going to probably see them trying to come after him a little bit more today.
Yeah.
If Georgia can't do it today, there's nobody in the country that can do it.
Nope.
They've got an outstanding. They do have a problem though. Nolan Smith, their number one rusher on the defensive side of the ball, is out. What effect's that going to have?
Well, I'll tell you what, the way Georgia has recruited, I mean, they lose one guy, they got another guy that can fill in there. And particularly on defense, I would be more leery if it was on offense and trying to bring somebody in there. But normally you have on defense, you have about 8 or 9 guys that can play. Mm-hmm. And that's – I don't think that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But the defense as a whole has got to play. I mean, 1 or 2 guys is not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
You're going to have a sound defense, and you're going to have to rush the passer. I mean, somebody's got to put some pressure on the guy.
And he's been pretty much pressure free all year long. And when he gets out of the pocket, he can run the ball. He's versatile there. But you gotta force him out of the pocket and make him throw the ball on the run. Take him out of his element, so to speak, and make him make
you
him
got
throw
to get
it.
him out of his warm spot.
Exactly right.
And if you don't get him out of there,
if you'd asked before the game, right, who has thrown for more yards, Stetson Bennett or Hendon Hooker right now? Who do you think? I mean, most people are going to say Hooker.
Most people are
And
going to say Hooker.
he's not. Bennett's actually thrown for more yards than Hooker has coming
Yeah,
into
well,
this
let
game
me
in
ask
the same
you a
number of
question.
games.
Who's thrown for more touchdowns? Stetson
Well, that's
Bennett
that's
or,
what makes the
or
difference.
Hendon Hooker?
Is Hooker's 22-1 on touchdown to interception.
I don't know about you, Marcus, and
But
I don't
Bennett's
know about
9
Coach
and
Trail,
3.
but I would rather have the more touchdowns than I would the more yards.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I don't
my
care.
point being that
I don't
what
ever
you're
That he
saying,
can throw the ball
Bennett
to.
can
I've
throw
never,
the ball.
Yeah,
the idea is, the thing is, you're going to have to rush the quarterback, just like you talked about. We're going to have to give him some different looks. We're going to have to play some zone back there and pick that guy up, or you got to go zone and man-to-man on that guy, because my defense would find him immediately.
Georgia is going to have to. They're going to have to take Hendon Hooker out of his game, and they're going to have to make some adjustments in the secondary. Because
Right.
Tennessee's going to beat you with the pass.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from their run game. They got Jabari Small back there, and they can run the football with their backs.
Yeah.
But they're going to beat you with the pass.
That's
They're not going
right.
to beat you with the run.
No.
So you got to take that away from you. Marcus, which team has the most pressure on them going into this game, a Georgia or a Tennessee, if one of them was to lose the game?
I think whichever one is looking at whichever ranking. Because in one, I mean, both of them are claiming they're the underdog, because Tennessee's saying we're playing number one in the AP poll. Georgia's saying we're playing number one in the CFP.
Right.
So they're both taking the underdog role. I don't know that there's more pressure one way or the other, because when you get to this level and this stage, the only thing you can say is Georgia's been here before. They've played this type of game before. These players have played that type of game. Whether that helps them or hurts them depends on Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Coach Heupel's, his guys are the first time they've really been in this situation, because nobody was picking them to beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So
Nobody was picking them to be number 1 or 2 either.
No.
So-
Lord, no.
now you've got all this attention. Do they let that become pressure, or are they really doing what they've said all week? This is just the next game on the schedule.
I think if Tennessee loses this game, and they play it out the rest of the year, got Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt left. They play it out, and they finish 11-1. As far as 11-1 team, they're going to have a better resume than probably Georgia would have. With the 5 ranked teams.
Yeah.
Georgia has beaten 1 ranked team to this point. If they beat Tennessee, it'll be their 2nd ranked team that they've beaten. So I think as far as a 1-loss team, and there may be some other 1-loss teams out there.
The thing that I can't figure out is, I was looking today at Alabama's not even in the top 6.
No, they're
the
in there.
last thing, they're about 7th or 8th. Now, they've lost 1 game to Tennessee by 3 points. Why did they drop so far?
Alabama in the college football rankings, are they not 6th?
In the CFP, they're number 6.
That's
'cause
what I thought,
They
yeah.
are ahead.
Rankings
They
are
are ahead
number
of TCU, which is causing all
Well,
sorts
yeah,
of
that's
then
called-
one came out last night. TCU was ahead of them.
Yeah, well, TCU's probably the one that got hosed a little bit in this deal. The fact that they've beaten, I think, 3 or 4 ranked teams,
right.
and they're undefeated, and they're
It's
not getting probably
lack
as much
of, we can
respect.
talk that one, lack
Yeah.
of respect for that conference. But I think where Ray was going with it is, why did Alabama drop so far? It's still, we're in November, but we've still got a slew of unbeatens. And
Got
that's what-
6.
What you're going to do is take care of it today, because Tennessee's going to play Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State are going to play later this year.
Right.
A lot of those guys we're going to lose one or the other, because they're going to play each other, and there's going to be some self-elimination.
I
that goes
still
on.
don't understand how Alabama went from 2
Well-
to 6.
You can put them wherever you want to put them. They're not done yet.
Oh, no.
They're not done
I
yet.
know they're not.
And we talked about last week where they won 6 of the last the
Yeah.
7 championships with 1 loss.
Right.
They've been down this road before, and they've been to the dance before
Oh,
in this
yeah.
situation. So
If
they
they
know
get to go
they
to the
know they
dance.
have to beat LSU tonight,
Yeah.
and they got to go to Oxford and beat Mississippi next
Yeah.
week, and then they're in the playoff SEC championship game, and they've been there before too.
Yeah.
They've been there before too. So
Yeah,
they're going to be a player before all this.
Oh,
is
yeah.
over.
Alabama finishes off with that recipe that their November of the season, they're going to get some marquee games and get some of those ranked wins that they need. Whereas Tennessee's pattern prior to all the schedule moving around but for the bulk of that success in the 80s and 90s was Tennessee made its resume in October and then survived by winning out over beating Vanderbilt and Kentucky and South Carolina in November while everybody else is losing and losing those ranked matchups.
Yeah. Something that I was thinking about last week. This game's got so much hype. One versus number two in playoffs and SEC championships and everything. But in a couple of years, this game, if we had this game, it wouldn't mean near as much because this game would primarily just be for seeding.
Yeah.
You have 12 teams. You're basically going for seeding. So are we going to see that hype when we go to 12 teams? Probably not.
No.
It's just like, well, we'd like to have a number 1 ranking or a number 2 ranking, number 3 ranking. But when you got 4 teams, when you go to 12, you're going to take a little bit of that excitement out of it during the year and a little bit of that anticipation of, hey, we're watching the scoreboard to see what these other teams are doing because when you go to that, it's just for seeding.
Yep.
It's not for all the marbles, so to speak, like you're looking at here today. Let's talk a little bit about of Sanford Stadium. You've played down there, and you know that the noise is a big factor at Neyland Stadium. Compare Sanford Stadium at Georgia with Neyland Stadium. Is Tennessee going to see as much noise down there as an opponent would see at Neyland?
That stadium is a little bit down in the
valley.
ground. The stadium is actually underground.
Yeah.
So you bring your people a lot closer to the game. And that's what makes it loud. At Neyland, you're like this, you can't hear the top people hardly. But down there, it's like I said, you're between the edges. That's not a fun place to play either.
Will the noise be a factor? Would it be as much a factor there as it would be up here at Neyland Stadium?
Oh yeah. It's loud down there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's loud.
Yep.
But like I said, everybody's sitting on top of you.
Yep. And Marcus, traditionally, Tennessee has played real well against Georgia. Even in years that they may have not been up to par with Georgia, the series is pretty close. I think Georgia leads it maybe 27-23 over time. But we had the Hail Mary down there with Josh Dobbs. Back in 2016.
Yeah.
So, these games, and then one year we were going in against Georgia and we tried to stretch the ball out the goal line there and lost control of it and going in for the winning score. So, that means something if you've played traditionally well against them, does it not?
I think it does, and this is a rivalry that Tennessee fans may not put up there in that top 3 or 4 with the must-wins, but in reality, in the new SEC, this is a game Tennessee's got to be able to win, or at least be competitive in, because Georgia is where you've got it not only for standings and any plans you have for the season, but Georgia's where you've got to be able to recruit. When you look at the Tennessee roster, you've got a lot of Georgia addresses on there. You've got to be able to recruit in Georgia, so you've got to be competitive in that race. But it's kind of like Tennessee and Alabama in a way, is that you've had some of these games where bad Tennessee teams have given good Georgia team fits, and vice versa. You've had some really good Tennessee teams that went to Athens and struggled.
Yeah.
And then you've had some of these anomalies where everybody thought it was going to be a close game, and I'm thinking of some of the Schuler years. They went down there and won by like 40.
Yep. Well, I went to Georgia one year. Todd Helton was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Went down there, and Georgia hurt him. It was a close game.
That was the cost of the NFL.
And then we put a guy in there by the name of Peyton Manning, and that's where it all got started, right down there in Georgia. And then we went on and won that game down at Georgia. It was a night game, and so
we won that game with a lot of Peyton handing the ball to the running back.
Yeah, I guess, but that certainly turned around over time.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Hey, Coach Trail. Let's talk about Vince Dooley. He passed away a week or so ago. That's still on the minds of a lot of Georgia people. They're probably going to show some tributes on their board today, and that's probably been talked around Athens this past week. What will the effect of the ghost of Vince Dooley have on today's game? Any, as far as motivation for Georgia?
No.
None at all.
No. He's been out, our athletic director, and he's been away from the team long enough
Right.
that none of those kids really associate with Vince Dooley. And I don't think that'll have effect.
Yeah.
The thing that's going to have an effect is, can Georgia put pressure on Tennessee's quarterback? Now that's the whole deal.
And
If they cannot put pressure on the quarterback, it's going to be a shootout.
And on the other side of the ball, Stetson Bennett, he talked about the yards he's piled
Yeah.
up offensively, but one of the things that he hasn't done well is that when you take him out of his game, out of his element, he's not been as effective, and they've had a little problem with turnovers. You know, they had, I think, 2 or 3 turnovers last week against Florida down there in Gainesville, and basically kind of let them back in the game. So, you know, you take Stetson Bennett out, that's a big part. I'm sure Tennessee's talked about that too.
Oh yeah. I mean, they got to get some pressure on him, just like we got to get some pressure on. I mean, they're going to have to get some pressure on him and Hooker. Yeah. You can't let him just stand right there because I mean, he throws some balls 60 and 70 yards, you know, to let his wideout out there that gives him all kinds of time to run and get open. It's really amazing when you see that, and then they do a replays. Where's everybody else?
Yeah.
I mean, he's wide open. I mean, he's run down there and he runs a post, then he runs a hook, and
Well, when you talk about scheme, I mean, I think there's something to fear, and that's what drives some of these defensive-minded coaches crazy. Is Tennessee is extremely well at scheming up. So there were several times you're seeing when they move around and they snap the ball, the defense is stuck with the linebacker covering Hyatt. And by the time they get it like 10 yards downfield, that linebacker's way in the background of the frame.
Oh yeah.
They don't have the speed to keep up with him when they get that matchup.
Yeah. Hey, Marcus.
That's when they go to that twin out there, and they either run this guy on the post, and he comes around on the trail this way, or he can run the post, and that guy runs up. Yeah. But that's their best play.
I really don't know from looking at it, and I've thought it different ways. Part of me is thinking the receivers are making that call and signaling it, and part of me thinks that Hooker is making that call. I don't know where it's coming from, but they are very good at when they get that set up and go that way of getting that linebacker on the faster receiver.
Yeah.
Special teams, Coach Trail, Chase McGrath missed a couple of extra points, field goal week. Hadn't been quite as consistent.
I mean, in this game,
Worrisome.
I told you a while ago, in this game, the team that makes the fewest mistakes will win. Yeah. And whether it be the kicker or who, but you're going to have to play a good, solid game.
All the way through.
All the way through. Yeah. And if there's a weak spot, I guarantee you Georgia's found it and Tennessee's found it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be who can make the adjustment during the game and make those adjustments. Just like Kentucky made no adjustments. They lined up there and played the same thing all day long.
They made an adjustment. They went from bad to worse off. They made about 3 adjustments.
I'll tell you what, if I'd have been coaching Kentucky, I'd have told them boys, get back home the best way you can.
I wouldn't have gone to the locker room. I'd have kept them out there and ran drills on the field, huh? Run tackling drills, passing drills. Why go to the locker room?
Yeah,
huh?
Obviously, you boys forgot we had a game today.
Yeah. Hey, Marcus, before we get out of here, I want to mention Troy Provo Heron's not with us this morning because he's at a wedding. Coach, he's getting to where he's going to these weddings. I don't know. Maybe he needs to cover weddings more.
I think he needs to get into the social end of it.
But we're missing Troy here this morning. But anyway, before we get out of here, we got real quick. Smokey and Uga, they get into a fight. The 2 dogs. Who wins it? Marcus.
This year,
over a bone.
This year, I'm going to say that Uga would probably have the advantage because this is. But you never know. This is Smokey's last season. He's retiring. he's retiring. His one of his sons is going to be taking over next year. So, it's a question of.
And he's not probably in a really good mood.
Maybe he's as good once as he ever was. I don't know, but.
Yeah. All right.
Boy, we're down to the nubbin, aren't we?
Yeah, we really are. we better close out, huh? Hey, it's time to turn the page, and next up it's the local scoreboard with Donnie Moore and Mark It Down featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP Money Tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Housing Lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. Wow. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093. The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the local scoreboard, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. Donnie Moore, by golly, the World Series, we saw something happen the other night that hadn't happened since 1956. I was 6 years old. I don't know about Coach Trail. I was 6 years old. Don Larson pitched the perfect game, and up until this week, there had never been a no-hitter in a World Series. Even though it took 4 or 5 pitchers to get it, it still got done, and history was made.
That's true, and we'll get to that in our next segment.
Yeah, but that's one of the big things. You're going to get to that.
Yeah,
so we got baseball, football, and overlap and everything else going on. So
that's true.
I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's get to our local scoreboard, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. High school playoffs, football playoffs. Round 1 is in the books. Started off last night around here, and wow, boy, it started off with a bang and ended with a bang for some teams, and ended with a whimper for some teams. So glad to have. Yeah, they did. You're right. Wow. We had single A action, we had 3A action, 4A action, 6A action, and Division II single A action last night around in our area, with some of them playing away. So TKA had to travel all the way to Jackson last night. Wow, that's a long trip to go.
It's a heck of a first-round matchup to
It
have
is.
to drive 6.5 hours across the state.
No kidding. Yeah, that's a long journey. Well, they got matched up. They're Division II, so they have to a lot of times to find a matchup.
Division
in the
II has a
playoffs.
crazy formula where East plays West in one game, West plays Central in another, and Central plays East in another in their 3 first-round games.
Yeah.
And TKA drew that short straw where you're the one, the East is going to the West.
Yeah, we'll just start with them. They they drew the short straw for travel, as far as travel goes. They did. They went to Jackson, and went Thursday, in fact, and spent the night. Played in Jackson. Played Trinity Christian. As far as the matchups goes, looked like a pretty good matchup. Kings Academy was 4-6 on the regular season. Trinity Christian was also 4-6. Ended up 4-6. Yeah. Put your headset on, Ray, if you're going to talk. Well, yeah, you're
this is
talking to
tough
fans
stuff.
too.
This is
Yeah.
tough stuff.
4-6, both teams were as far as the regular season matchups went. But Trinity Christian came out on top, 24-20 in the game last night. But the ride home was not
That's a
fun.
long one, and
It sure is. 3.5 hours.
well, 6.
That's right, 6 hours for
It's the other side of
Jackson,
Nashville.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's the
gotta
other
go
side
all
of
the-
Nashville. That's right. You got to go to Nashville and then go another 3 hours, right?
You got to go
Almost.
to Nashville, go halfway to Memphis, turn left, and
Oh,
when
wow.
you see the stadium lights,
Go
that's where
close.
that's Jackson.
That's why they went on Thursday.
Go right out of Jackson, Mississippi, right there in
Yeah.
the corner.
But
Goodness,
I mean,
that's a long drive.
a 4-point playoff loss. I mean, that's the home field advantage right
Oh,
there. Is that's a
goodness.
1-score advantage
Yeah.
from being at home.
So Kings Academy ends their season with a 24-20 loss to Trinity Christian.
And the Lions had a good year. I mean,
They
it wasn't the 8-win season that they were hoping for,
No,
but
that they've had in the past
With-
sometimes.
the way Division II keeps changing and who they keep putting in those classifications, I mean, that road is just you can't map that thing out a year or two ahead of time
No,
as to who
you can't.
as to who your schedule's going to be.
All right, let's go back up to single A action, and Greenback traveled to Unaka last night. Unaka is a team up in northeast Tennessee, and Unaka dropped 44 points on Greenback last night. Greenback struggled back and scored 20, but 6-4 Unaka beat Greenback at 5-5 in the regular season, and ended the Cherokee season last night with a loss to Unaka, 44-20.
And that's one of those games where anytime that region gets the chance to beat a Region 2 team, they are going to lay it on,
Oh, yeah.
because there have been many a times that Coalfield and Greenback have laid it on that region.
This is
There's
true.
been many years where Region 2 has swept Region 1 and by a large margin. So when they got the opportunity, they were not holding back.
That's true, and this is through. This is true of also the Region 3A game last night. A team from Mountain City. I called them the Copperhead Road team. If you remember the old song by Steve Earle, Copperhead Road. Mountain City. It's just about as far as you can go and still be in Tennessee.
Well, 3 of the ways out of there take you into another state.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, there
saying.
was a great basketball official out of Mountain City, Ralph Stout.
Ralph
Remember
Stout.
Ralph?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always got him against Kentucky up at Rupp Arena.
They had a player.
You could always count on us going up to play Kentucky. There'd be Adolph Rupp on the bench,
Yeah.
and Ralph Stout calling the game.
They had a player named Stout last night, so it may have been
Yeah,
related. I don't
might
know.
have been.
But the team from Johnson County last night at 2-8 on the regular season came to Alcoa last night, and Alcoa won it easily. They had a 35-0 lead at halftime, and won it easily, 42-0. Played second and third teams throughout the course of the second half.
Was it senior night?
It was not.
It was not senior night.
Alcoa, and it won't be next week either. So have to wait till the third round to get senior night at Alcoa. Hopefully that'll take place. But 42-0 was your final, Alcoa against Johnson County.
And
the
have,
Longhorns.
We'll have the Tornadoes on a little bit later to talk about them.
We will. We'll talk about
hour.
that a little bit later. Alcoa will play Pigeon Forge next week. They're led by their former coach, Scott Meadows.
Always good to see Coach Meadows.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. They had a good win last night.
Yeah, they did. Well, played beat West Green, I think. West Green.
Got that 3-2 upset. There were only, I think when we counted them up, there were only 4 3-2 upsets last night.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
That was one of them. You're right. In Class 4A last night, Seymour at 3-7 traveled to Anderson County at 10-0 on the regular season, undefeated Anderson County, and Anderson County remained undefeated. Put it on Seymour 55-6 last night. So the Eagles continued to struggle. They're still banged up tremendously, aren't they?
They're banged up. They're still young in a lot of places.
Well, still young, yes. It's hard to overcome
what
that
I mean
deficit.
is you already had a young guy starting, and so the guy behind him on that next guy up chart was they were pretty much underclassmen in a lot of places. So
still starting their third team quarterback?
I believe that was the case. I did not get to see the actual box score out of it, but you know.
So 55-6.
I think it was 49-0 going into the third quarter.
Yeah. Anderson County puts an end to Seymour's season last night. Didn't have any local teams. Well, I say local teams. Knoxville teams are in 5A, Class 5A. But in Class 6A, Maryville, which Coach Derrick is with us here, maintaining holding up the end for Maryville. Thank you, Coach Hunt, for being here today, by the way.
Thank you.
Maryville beat Morristown East last night. Maryville at 7-3 this year. Morristown East at 4-6. Maryville shuts out Morristown East 49-0 last night, and we'll get a chance to play Bearden next week. Kind of a surprise upset of Dobbins-Bennett last night. So congratulations to Maryville, and congratulations to Bearden as well, with a chance to come to Maryville next week. And take on the Red Rebels. So Maryville 49-0, not an upset, but a shutout of Morristown East last night. All of the games kick off at 7 p.m., and I stress local time.
Well, this is always that thing in the paper because we get into that games played on the other side of the timeline.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is 7 p.m. at the site of the game.
At the site of the game. That's why I said local time.
Because
so if it's local time, it's wherever the
some
game
people
is being
assume that
played.
when you say local time, that's my time. It doesn't matter where the game's being played and what their time is.
I understand that.
Yeah, you know what? These high school games this year, they really had a break in the weather. I mean, these high school, you normally get some downpours.
It's been beautiful.
It's been
beautiful
last
evenings
night.
to play
My
football.
gosh,
It's
almighty. I
gorgeous.
mean, gorgeous. But that's fixing to change. I looked at the forecast next weekend. The high is going to be 52 degrees.
Well,
the low is about 37.
it'll feel like fall finally. Donnie, what else you got
It's
for us
been-
on there? You got some cross country in there by any
Well,
chance?
you know, we did have some cross country. Congratulations to Alcoa.
Well, Alcoa teams had a real good showing
Alcoa's
early in the
teams
week.
had a good show early
and
in the
then
week.
The AAA teams ran yesterday,
That's
and
right, AAA
Maryville
teams ran
boys got a top
yesterday.
10 finish. I think Coach Harris said it was the 5th time maybe.
I think
that
you're
they've
right.
had a top 10 finish at the state championships.
Yep.
Really
So,
good performance
yeah,
by those.
Great job by our local cross
And
countries.
several good individual performances,
there,
even
yeah.
from our schools that weren't sending the full team, but
Yeah.
got qualified individual runners from Heritage and William Blunt.
Yeah.
Just a real strong performance from across the county. Out
Hey,
there.
our cross country teams normally do well this time of year. So congrats to our local cross country teams and the individuals. You know, you're listening to WKCE 105.1 FM and 1180 AM, Mid-Century Radio, and now I'm going to kick it to our veteran sports writer, Marcus Fitzsimmons, for his feature, Mark It Down.
Well, thanks, Donnie. I'm going to go to a veteran guest that's with us and has been with us
Most
several
definitely.
times, and who I've had the pleasure of talking to multiple times over his entire career as a player and a coach. Coach Derrick Hunt's joining us from the Red Rebels. Coach, 49-0, as Donnie was saying.
Yep.
The thing that popped out at me when I saw this score last night, and I was keeping on hearing little bits about it, Morristown East was averaging almost 280, 285 yards a game running the ball, had a standout performance against William Blount a week ago, and they come out of that game last night with 16 net rushing yards on 26 attempts.
Yeah.
You got to be proud of that defense for stopping up that run game.
Yeah, I think the key last night was just having 11 hats to the football. You know, you got the whole defense running to the ball and gang tackling, if you will. You know, making sure there's multiple guys there, not just one guy trying to take down their back. Who's a pretty good player, runs hard. And I think he'd rushed for over 200 yards himself the previous game. So, yeah, really proud of our guys. They played well. Made them have to throw it. Got them in some third and longs. And when you know what's coming, it's a lot easier, and we had a couple interceptions that were great.
You led into the turnovers. Basically first play of the game, you get a turnover and turned around 90 seconds later, you've got the lead. How big a factor was that in getting – this team was fired up, but how big was that to get that right off the bat and have the defense make that play and the offense capitalize on it?
Yeah, that's huge. Like, we wanted to get off to a quick start. We wanted to take the ball, and they won the toss and took the ball. But it was almost like we got it because we were able to get a turnover the first play. Had the ball on the 20-yard line, and 2 plays later we're in the end zone. So it's almost like getting the ball to start both halves.
And then it wasn't a very long break, but East had a little bit. But by the end of the first quarter, you're up 21-0, and you're sitting on that lead. What do you in your mind? What are you working on between at that point in that second quarter? Is you've still got your starters in. What do you want to accomplish before you get to halftime? And when you've got what looks like a mercy rule coming fairly quickly.
Yeah, we just want to execute at a high level. That's the biggest thing, and get guys comfortable. I felt like, last game of the regular season against Bradley Central, it was for a region championship essentially, so we were playing for the 1 seed. I felt like we got some things going. We started figuring some stuff out. We've had to recreate ourselves 3 or 4 times this year on offense due to injuries. And we lost Noah Vaughn, who he might be Mr. Football in 6A, week 9. And so obviously he was kind of our do-it-all guy, and he went down, and Gage Ledoux stepped right in. Our offensive line has continued to play so well. Matthew Clement, quarterback's getting better, and we're starting to figure out at receiver what each guy's really good at. And so putting them in position to be successful is huge. But offensively, that we're just trying to maintain momentum and execute at a high level. In the first half, we were able to do that. Had a lot of success in the past game, so that was really exciting.
You mentioned a couple of the topics I wanted to stray into there. One is just how well Gage has stepped into that role and filled that. We knew he was a good player, but he has shown something more than than it was expected when Noah went down.
Yeah, Gage is a phenomenal player, and when you have Noah Vaughn too, it's hard. You can't take Noah Vaughn off the field. He might be the best running back in the state. We feel like Gage is just right up there with him. He's so good. Gage played a lot of H, and we played him receiver and fullback and stuff, and he ran the ball some too. But now that he's moved back, to running back full time, and Gage is kind of like a charcuterie board. He can do a little bit of everything, But he's tough. He is so tough. And offensive line has like I said, has been really good all year. So they've given him a chance. And, and when he hits it downhill, he's hard to tackle. What Noah was in being so shifty, Gage is a downhill runner. And that kind of fits our scheme.
What happened to Noah?
Noah broke his leg, so he's out for the year. He broke his leg week 9, so he's out for the year. Yeah.
And we saw a couple pictures. It looked like he was still coming on the sideline and
oh yeah, he was down there last night.
Supporting the team and kind of coaching a little bit as a senior, right?
Yes, he still I hate it for him. It's heartbreaking, but the good thing is he'll have a full recovery. And he's going to Virginia next year, so he should be good by the time he reports to Virginia. He should be 100%, and he's going to do great things there. He's every bit good enough to help them out year 1.
Did he get offers to Tennessee or anywhere
Tennessee
else?
did not offer him. Now he had about I'd say 12 to 15 offers. Yeah.
Well, he'll get a chance to play against them.
That's exactly
first game
right.
next year
That's
in
exactly
Nashville.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the way it certainly looks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you talk a little bit about the offense evolving, and talk a little bit how we've seen Matthew Clemmer's role change. How have you all looking at how you want to use him as far as throwing the ball versus his shifty and ability to take off when you need him to?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, he's a big kid. I mean, he's 6'5", probably weighs 215. So, that's a big high school body. And so he's got a really strong arm.
Most schools he'd be blocking for somebody.
You're exactly right. Yes, my favorite thing about Matthew is he's competitive. Like that's a trait that I think, is being lost in our high school kids today. Some of them are out there because they want to put their film on social media, or is the love of the game still truly there? And we love having those kids that just love the game. Matthew's one of those kids. He loves to play. He's super competitive, wants to win. That's, in my opinion, is his best attribute. But he's got a strong arm. We got to show that off last night. We took a deep shot to Eli Cobble, and defensive back just made a great play, but it was a great route. It was a great throw, and I'm looking forward to being able to do more of that in the playoffs.
There you go. I love how you lead me into the topics here, because you mentioned Cobble. You also mentioned the receivers earlier. What are you finding from those guys? Because it feels like that you're finding some of them where you want to go deep to them, and some of them where you want to get to them in certain situations.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, it's taken us a while this year to figure out what each receiver is really good at, and we had to replace so many guys, so from last year's team. We had 3 seniors at receiver. Actually 4. 4 seniors starting at receiver last year, and they all, obviously went on, some of them to play college football. So we had a whole bunch of new guys, and at the beginning it's kind of a plug and play, and you kind of hope they can fill shoes, but I think early on, and this was my fault, asking them to do probably too much. And instead of really focusing on, hey, this is what he's good at, and this is what he's good at, and we got to try to figure that out. But at the same time, had a brand new quarterback who was trying to learn the system, and so it's been tough, figure all that out. But as the season gone on, Jax Kirby stepped up in a big way last night, and he's probably one of our, if not our best route runner. Has really good hands. He was a tennis player that tried out his sophomore year, and we ended up keeping him. Had a really good frame, and he's just evolved into a really good receiver. So he had caught 2 touchdown passes last night. DJ Gillens, who's kind of our slot, speedy type guy, he can fly. He scored on a reverse last night from about 70 yards out, and then he also scored on a jet sweep from about 20 yards out. And then Zeke McCoy, who we've moved. I think Zeke's played every receiver spot last night or this year. He caught a touchdown pass on a scramble drill from Matthew last night. I mean, so that's the best thing is we're starting to figure out what they're good at. Cannon Johnson's got to touch the ball some. Eli Cobble's been our deep threat. So, and we're starting to spread it out. Gage will still catch it some out of the backfield. Jonah Arms has done a great job coming in at H. So, for so long this year, we know our main dish has kind of been our run game. And our pass game has been like it's been like a good piece of cornbread. It's been a good side dish, but it's not been our main dish. But it's starting to become something that we're good at. And we always want to be balanced at Maryville on offense, and I feel like we're finally clicking at the right time.
And where you want to be clicking is going into the second round, and you've got a rematch that I guess is going to be fairly interesting, because I was kind of hoping to see a DB team that we hadn't really seen a lot of in recent years, but you get Bearden again.
Yep.
Really good defense.
Yep, they are.
So if you're going to test that offense and see what it's good at, this is the opportunity, right?
We will, exactly right. We will learn a lot about ourselves next Friday night as far as from an offensive standpoint, how much we've improved. Now, obviously, when we played them early in the year, we won 21-7. We had a healthy Noah Vaughn, but at the same time, we were still trying to figure out, and that was game 5. It was early on, coming off a loss to Alcoa, so it was a rebound game, tough. But like, that's a great point. We'll find out and how much we've really improved, and Bearden's not going to be scared to come in and play us. They're not going to be. They've played us as tough as anybody. Them and Farragut in our region over the last few years. So, it's going to be a great matchup, exciting game. They kind of got a high-profile offense that likes to throw it around. So we'll have our hands full.
and I'm not going to look ahead. I'm just going to make the note for the people who are looking at the brackets. But Farragut and Science Hill are out there playing on the other side of the bracket, which should be a really good game, judging from what we've seen so far. So there's no easy road out of Quad 1.
No, I think that'll be a great game. You know, Farragut beat them in overtime last year up there, maybe even double overtime. I would give the edge to Farragut, you know, going into the game, but that's one of those things that, you know, Farragut's playing at home. That's helpful too. Farragut's gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. We saw them on film. But I would give the edge to Farragut, but I think it'll be a good game.
So what does the coach do after a win like this? How long was it before you started thinking about round 2 after last night's win?
Last night, you know, after the game, you're trying to get some film and, you know, start organizing that. And I actually started with our game last night, and then started Bearden this morning. So try to put last night's game to bed and no pun intended, before you go to bed. And then you can get up and start working on Bearden. And when it's playoff time, like, you just want to make sure that you've checked every box. You know, you don't want to leave any rock unturned. So we're always looking for an advantage, and you got to start early to be able to do that.
Well, before we get out, I want to give you a chance here, because usually we have so much to talk about, don't really have the opportunity. But we'll say we couldn't bring you Rebels this morning because there were a lot of players, and I think you mentioned there was a Young Life event that got some of them.
Yep.
But give you a chance to do shout-outs, because there's a lot of people I know that help and support the program, and you know, make sure that field is ready and all the pebbles are in the right place, and that you got security, and that people are parking the cars. And it feels like the operation, even though it's changed administrations a little bit, that everything's still flowing well.
It's an all-hands-on-deck mentality at Maryville High School, and we are very fortunate to have the support that we have from the top down. I mean, it goes all the way to our director of schools, Mike Winstead, and assistant director, Amy Wagner, all the way down our administration, you know, Miss Hilton, our principal. You know, Brett Coulter was our game administrator last night, subbing for Landon Harris, our AD. All those folks support us, and then it goes, like I said, and I appreciate that, because all the way down to, you know, our football dads who get off work early to go get food and feed us. You know, we're talking about feeding 100 people, you know, before every game. You know, and our trainers, Amanda Cagle and David Ivins, who they show up to practice every day, you know, to tape our kids' ankles and to be there when somebody gets hurt, so we don't have to worry about all that stuff. I mean, and listen, the list goes on. We could take another probably 30 minutes of talking about people, kind of the unsung heroes, that put in just as much time as us coaches and players that are there every day, parents and just assistants, volunteers who deserve to be recognized. And so they know who they are. We are super appreciative of them, and that's what makes Maryville special. You know, and I realize it's not like that everywhere. And some people, you know, they just don't get enough recognition, and then recognition they deserve. You know, so those folks like Pam Everett, you know, she's been kind of overseeing the logistics of Maryville High School football, from a travel to a food to, you know, Rebel Rack selling gear stuff for us for 25 years. And her son's been done playing for 2 decades, and she's just still hanging around just because she gets paid absolutely nothing, just because she loves to help and support our kids. And so it's people like that that I pinch myself, because they allow us coaches to do what we love to do, which is coach our kids and love on them. And we don't have to do so much behind the scenes. So we're very, very, very fortunate.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. We're going to wish you the best of luck with Bearden. And maybe, you know, if things break down right and y'all can progress a little bit, we could get you back sometime soon, maybe around that Thanksgiving break time of year. But not to jinx anything or make any looks in the crystal ball.
No, but listen, I'll come back. I'll stay all day if that means we get a win. So whatever it takes, I'll be here.
There you go.
Well, as it happens, if Troy takes another break, we'll take you up on that and let you be the new tech guy. How about that?
I don't know about the tech guy.
It's Maryville.
I can bring drinks to everybody, and donuts probably. Bring some waters and Cokes to everybody.
Well, Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Marcus, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Marcus Fitzsimmons announces the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week. You're listening to the Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. Troy Provo-Heron is out of pocket this weekend. Marcus Fitzsimmons, we're giving you a lot of airtime, buddy. We're working you to death.
I feel good about this. So,
Yeah.
I'm proving my versatility that I can work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If you need to run me out of the backfield, go out and catch the ball, I can do these things.
Yeah, I like that. And we talked about putting Troy on the wedding circuit, just going out and Marcus working right on in here. Troy,
I feel like I'm building
it's like a
confidence
player, Troy's going to say, I need to get back on there pretty quick, huh? Get out of the training table here. Huh?
Well,
training room.
We're actually we're going to go from one playoff winner to another.
That's right.
We're happy to have some representatives from the Alcoa Tornadoes coming off the big win last night over Johnson County. Couldn't get the players here this morning, so Donnie, I'm going to let you. I can't do the drum roll, but I'm going to let you name our Anderson County or Anderson Lumber Player of the Week.
Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week, chosen this for the last night's game against Johnson County, was Jordan Harris. Jordan had 3 touches last night with football. He had 2 rushes, covering 89 yards. But those 2 touches, 2 carries anyway, resulted in 2 touchdowns. And I told you he had 3 touches. Well, the other touch was a punt return, resulting in 56 yards and another touchdown. So, wow, that's all I can say.
Well, I'm going to say this. If you have not seen the picture that was on the front of the sports section of the Daily Times this morning of the line clearing the way for Jordan.
Oh,
and
goodness.
the look on Jordan's face. You knew exactly where that play was going to end up, even though the photographer did a great job. He's running straight at the photographer, and the photographer's 50 yards downfield.
That was a great pick.
But there was no doubt where Jordan was going to end up on that play because all you see is Johnson County bodies flying to the right and left, and Jordan with a look that said, "You want to tackle me? Come on and try."
Listen, they couldn't touch him. He absolutely had green grass in front of him all night long. I mean, of course, it was
all
turf.
3 times.
It was turf, yeah. Yeah, 3 touches and 3 touchdowns. 2 rushes for 89 yards and a 56-yard punt return for a touchdown. That's a night's work right there for most players anyway.
I think most players would be happy about that when they left the field last night if they had done that in 15 touches, Coach. But to do it in 3, he's just a weapon for you guys.
He's a phenomenal athlete. And for us, he's a Swiss Army knife because, Coach Moore, you call some games. So that guy can get it done on defense. He gets it done on offense. We've actually put him as our punter this year.
He does.
And I'd like to know what his average is punting the football.
He does a great job punting. And he does. He gets the ball. His hang time is really good, too.
And that's not something that we worked on a whole lot in the offseason. I'll give Coach Nix credit. That's his idea. Put him back there, put your athlete back there, see what he can do. And I'll tell you what, he's done a phenomenal job for us this year.
I've heard rumor that he can also do the 40-yard rake of the Pebbles in 12 minutes and averages 57 miles an hour driving the bus. Is that?
I'd say if Jordan can do whatever he wants. He can play ping pong, any sport he's good at. And if you've seen him play football, basketball, anything with a ball, he's phenomenal.
He really is.
He really is.
Well, if you missed out on it was like Donnie said, it was the Jordan Harris show to start the game. I think it was, I'm not looking at the numbers exactly, but I think it was 4.5 minutes in, and Jordan's got 2 touchdowns. Y'all are at 14-0, and pretty much have control of that game already before it's really underway.
His vision is incredible. It's uncanny on the field. He sees the field better than just about anybody I've seen in a long time.
Well, there's a couple zone plays if you go back and you watch on film. And he's kind of trying to pick the hole, but once he sees that hole and he puts his foot in the ground and he accelerates down the field, most teams aren't catching him.
No.
Not at all.
Absolutely. I recruited a guy like that, Condridge Holloway.
Yeah, I started to say that must have been Condridge.
Well, if Jordan can play at that level, hey, I'd like to see it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Condridge was, I don't believe I've ever seen as good an athlete as that guy was.
Well, he was great.
He was good.
He was, but some guys just have it, and you don't know where it comes from. But he was good in baseball.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He drafted. We were sitting at the table, and the guy comes in and opens up a whole suitcase full of money. He said, anything Coach Trey will give you have to be under the table. He said, what I give you will be above the table. Condridge said, he's never offered me a dime, and you insinuating that tells me what kind of person you are. He said, I think I'm going to Tennessee, and we got up and left.
Good choice.
Yeah, good story. Well, Coach, what do you do? Alco has been in this situation before with a first-round game, but this one got out of hand very, very quickly. How do you all manage that? We see younger players coming in, we see them filling in positions, but it's not just. I'm assuming anyway that it's not just Coach Nick saying, "I'll put him in." I assume that there's a plan in place as to this is how we want to sub in, and this is how we want to get these guys rested.
There is. There is a definite plan in place, and that's basically talked about even early in the week. And similar to the way we practice, and I don't want to say that we change the way that we practice for who we play, but in games like these to where we know that there's a possibility that it can get out of hand early, we may spend a little extra time through the week with our ones, with our starters, having a few more physical drills, a little bit more individual periods that require a little pop. But, yes, there is a plan in place, and we look at the score And we talk about if it gets to a certain point when we start pulling people off, not only on offense and defense, but special teams. And that's something that we talk about as a staff on the weekend before the game and also on the day of the game.
And it's always a great advantage when a team can be in that position. Alcoa, I want to say it has helped fuel the dynasty, is that once you're in that position where you can not wiggly-niggly say we're going to put so-and-so in and so-and-so in, but have a plan and a progression and have time to think about it and have the opportunities to actually use it, is you're not only resting your starters, you're not only letting off on the gas a little bit on the other team, but you're building all that depth and all that experience for next season and the season after that, with when you get freshmen and sophomores out there getting playoff reps, live playoff reps against somebody else.
And those kids work hard through the week. I mean,
Sure
they
do.
They're not only are they getting reps in our individual and team periods, but some of those guys are on the scout team. And I'm not going to say you get beat up, but I mean, some of those guys are out there. They're working hard. They deserve to get reps in the game. But I mean, like I said, coming into those games, if you've looked early in the year when we put those guys in, I mean, teams scored on us. I'm talking defensively. Teams scored on us, and sometimes they scored on us at will. It's very difficult to stop them. It's been really great to see the improvement that these kids have made from game one to where we are right now, and a lot of that comes with they are getting experience in these games. And once they've been put in early in the year, they had a struggle kind of knowing what to do and how to do it, but now they understand the expectation and what they are to do, and I think it's paid dividends for us. I mean, in the beginning of the year, if we would have put the young guys into this game, it definitely would not have been a shutout defensively last year at all.
Coach, how's Lance doing?
Lance, okay. So since I'm a defensive coach, all right, I hate Lance on offense. I love Lance on defense. Because going up against Lance, my guys, for the last couple years, and especially this year, when you've got Lance on one side and you've got Bubba on the other, and I've got a 215-pound defensive end trying to get something done against them, it's not a fun sight. All right? But transfer that over into defense, and now I get to put him down at nose.
Yeah.
So now I get to give the offense a little heck when he comes over with us. But Lance is a phenomenal player. Lance is one of those guys that you don't have to motivate at all at practice. Lance has his own motivation. Lance wants to be the best, and that carries on to any practice that we do. And it also transfers over to the other player. He's definitely a leader on offense, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I knew his dad real well. And
well, let me ask you a question if you knew him real well. If Lance's daddy and Lance were in a one-on-one, who would win?
Lance.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get on his dad about that.
Well, Coach, you talk about that plan, that progression that you see from those younger guys. And this is what I tell people is the real advantage of when you have a program like Alcoa or Maryville that's continually playing. We won't say you're guaranteed to be playing 5 postseason games, but at least 3 postseason games. That when you've got that and you've got the opportunity to substitute that deep, when that guy comes in next year, and we'll just say Joe Freshman, he's not coming in and you're trying to get him ready as a sophomore backup. You're bringing in a guy who's basically, over the course of this season, played almost 3 full games in a mop-up type role, and he has all those little things down, and you don't have to teach those from square one as a possible starter next year. And that's always got to be an advantage for you guys.
It's a tremendous advantage. And, like, coming into the season, I mean, we try to schedule as many JV-type games as we possibly can. And sometimes in our region that's difficult because you've got some smaller enrollments, and through the years they may have injuries and they want to cancel. So a lot of our games that we play at the JV level, we try to schedule up into the 5 and 6A teams so we know that we're not going to get canceled. But yes, I mean, you've got a full JV schedule, and there are several games that into the playoffs that these young guys get to play. And me and Coach Nix talked about it last year. I mean, if you're in our program, if you're a 4-year player and your team never goes to the playoffs, I mean, you're guaranteed about 40 games. At our school, and we've been really fortunate for the past how many years, those kids get in their high school career 60 games. I mean, you're getting 20 additional games each year. So, and for the development of players, it is a tremendous advantage for us, and it's a huge difference for them on the field.
We won't count anything before it's done. But we know who the second round opponent is. It's a rematch with the region foe. The region almost got the sweep, but not quite, because only one of the Region 1 teams survived. But you get another chance to play Pigeon Forge, and it's a Pigeon Forge team that has played pretty well the last 4 or 5 weeks. They're a better team than when you all played them earlier. What do you do to get the kids to come off a win like this and say, okay, refocus? This team is better than when you played them before, and even though you got a big win over them then, you've got to focus on them now.
It is, and that's a challenge for any program, to where you're going to come into a football game and you're going to hear through the week, you're going to hear a lot of noise how bad you're supposed to beat them, who you're going to play next round. But I mean, those are things that Coach Nix does a tremendous job. I mean, we've got to focus on the task at hand in the game that we have in front, because what we know is Coach Meadows does a tremendous job, and he's always going to have a wrinkle of something that we have not seen. Now, I remember the last game that we played them. I mean, they scored on. I mean, we were up pretty. We were up a pretty good margin on offense, but he put a little wrinkle in on offense, and it took us a series to kind of get back our wits, because they just marched it down the field and scored on us before half.
Yeah.
And that's something that we show our team, and I think they understand that when you get back in the playoffs and you're playing a region foe, someone that you've played many, many times, you better understand that they know us as well as anybody that we're going to play. So we've got to be prepared. We've got to be ready for other wrinkles. And I think that we do a pretty good job staying. You can't win a state championship in the second week of the second round of the playoffs. It's not going to happen. So focus on the opponent that you have, and then we'll move on from there.
If you're not familiar with the Alcoa history, there are 2 active coaches out there that are no longer at Alcoa, but head coaches other places that have state championship rings. And outside of Gary Rankin, the other one is Coach Scott Meadows. And he had a great run with the Tornadoes. And, I still enjoy the story where he basically ended up coaching a game from the hospital room over the phone, it sounded like, is what it broke down to. And I'm glad he's back in coaching and glad his health has allowed him to do that again. But, Coach, so Alcoa's usually got the theme as the postseason. I mean, we've climbed ladders, we've carried seal boats, we've done a lot of things over the years with the inspiration. What's the post-game inspiration going on this year?
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I half know what it is right now, because I'm the assistant principal at the middle school, so I'm not fortunate enough that throughout the day that I get to hang out with Coach Nix and those guys at the high school. I mean, I don't know the whole backstory, because we had Coach Warwick, who played for us and graduated in 2015. He's really the inspiration for this year's theme, and it comes from the movie Achilles, to where if you've ever seen that movie, it's a Brad Pitt movie, and he's the famous warrior. And if you look at what he wears like a black helmet, and he carries that sword. And that's kind of what our theme is going about this year. So hopefully, if you guys, I don't know if you'll have anybody from Alcoa next week, but I'd like to get that story to you. But I don't 100% know it right now. All I know is it scared me when I saw Big Lance come out carrying that black sword and had his black helmet on his head, and that was kind of intimidating.
That
even
was
me
pretty
sitting up in
frightening.
the box. So whatever it is, it's going to work well this year.
It was a sight to see from the descriptions I heard on the radio. But, well, Coach, we appreciate you coming in this morning, sitting down with us, and we wish all the best of luck with Pigeon Forge. If I was pressed, I believe we're going to have an opportunity to talk to Alcoa again before this football season is over. And let me throw out there, because I think we kind of skipped over it, but the Mr. Football semifinalists were announced. And our player of the week was on that list for 3A. They're going to cut it down.
And Lance.
And Lance. And also Noah Vaughn at Maryville.
Yeah, that's right.
But they'll be cutting those lists down in the coming weeks. But congratulations for Alcoa football and have both those guys on those postseason awards lists.
Well, it's well earned for those guys, no doubt.
Well, Mike, I think we're going to go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Mark, it's time for a break. And when we return, it's Sports Headlines with Donnie Moore and the Tennessee Smokies Spotlight. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP Money Tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Housing Lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and here with this week's sports headlines is Donnie Moore. Donnie, you're back up.
I'm back up. Thank you, Mike. Well, the World Series goes back to Houston this evening with the Astros holding a slim 3-2 game edge. I said slim, but in some ways it's huge. Tonight's
it's
game.
One more game they had before they went to Philadelphia.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
They're down 2-1 when they went to Philly.
That's right. Tonight's game will begin at 8:03 Eastern. I'm picking Houston in 6.
Well, their bullpen's been unbelievable.
I'm telling you.
Unbelievable. I
really
think
has.
I saw on television this morning that the Houston Astros bullpen in this series against the Phillies, the ERA was something like 1.27. That's unbelievable.
They have been absolutely fabulous. So you heard it right here. I'm picking Houston in 6.
Yep. Well,
they got to win one
They were in
more.
this situation a few years ago with Washington.
Yeah.
And they had to.
Right.
They went back to Houston and they kicked 2 away down there.
That's true. They did.
So,
but the way they're playing right now, I can't see it going any other way. Major League Baseball also announced the 2022 Gold Glove Award winners this week. From the National League, the catcher J.T. Realmuto of the Phillies. At first base, Christian Walker of the Diamondbacks. Second base, Brendan Rodgers of the Rockies. Shortstop was Dansby Swanson of the Braves, played at Vanderbilt. Third base, Nolan Arenado, the Cardinals. Left fielder, Ian Happ of the Cubs. Center fielder, Trent Grisham of the Padres. The right fielder, Mookie Betts of the Dodgers. The pitcher, Max Fried of the Braves. and the utility player Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals. Over in the American League, the catcher Jose Trevino of the Yankees, the first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Blue Jays, the second baseman Andres Gimenez of the Guardians. Listen to all the Guardians that made it. The shortstop Jeremy Pena of the Astros, Ramon Urias of the Orioles. Here's the run. The left fielder Stephen Kwan of the Guardians, center fielder Miles Straw of the Guardians, the right fielder Kyle Tucker of the Astros, Shane Bieber, the pitcher of the Guardians, another Guardian, and the utility player DJ LeMahieu of the Yankees. Congratulations to all those guys. 14 of them were first-timers, too. Former Kansas City Chiefs assistant coach Britt Reed was sentenced on Tuesday to 3 years in prison for driving while intoxicated, speeding, and striking 2 parked cars last year, leaving a 5-year-old girl with a serious brain injury. Reed, the son of Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, was facing a possibility of 7 years in prison, but prosecutors agreed to ask for a maximum of only 4 years. Prosecutors said Reed was intoxicated and driving more than 80 miles an hour in a 65-mile-per-hour zone when his pickup hit the cars on an interstate entrance ramp near Arrowhead Stadium. Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets parted ways early this week, and reports differ on whether or not the parting of ways was an agreeable one. Either way, Nash's rocky tenure as head coach is over after a 2-5 start for the team. Jacques Vaughn was named interim head coach.
We were talking about this, in the pros, Coach Trail, they don't have to pay those guys anything, those coaches. You get fired, you lose your job.
Buyout clauses.
My question is, why is it in college that they have to have these buyouts?
I don't know.
It's like the pros now. You're serving alcohol, you're betting on games, and it's just like professional sports.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go out there and say, this is what you're going to make, and it's going to be a really good salary, but if you don't produce, you're out, and we're not going to pay you anything. Why is the pros different than college? They're paying millions and millions of dollars out when these guys are
that leads me into my next item.
Okay.
Auburn, just before Auburn University named former Mississippi State Athletics Director John Cohen their new AD, and less than 48 hours after a home loss to Arkansas, the Tiger Athletic Department announced on Monday the firing of head coach Brian Harsin after fewer than 2 seasons. Auburn's record is 3-5, and the Tigers are in peril of missing out on a bowl game for the first time since 2012. Running backs coach Carnell Cadillac Williams, in his 4th season at his alma mater, will serve as War Eagle interim head coach. Now, for his 9-12 record, Harsin is owed $15.5 million in buyout money. 50% of that is due within 30 days, and the rest is payable in 4 installments per the terms of his contract. Hey, it pays to get fired, gentlemen, apparently, even when you lose.
And I'm going back to my question. Why are colleges doing this?
That's what
go ahead,
led
Marcus,
me to
fill
that.
me in.
This is, I think most colleges will blame UT for this because Philip Fulmer's agent was one of the ones who pioneered this, and Tennessee was one of the first ones to really cave in and say, okay, we'll do that for you. We're going to give you this buyout clause, and it's become a staple. But the difference is the colleges will not admit what they are. They will not admit that they are a business.
Well, they are.
So
They're a professional business right now.
Until you admit you're a professional business in these regards, and that you're in a competitive situation, they have let the coaches control this because they have let that become a part of the industry and made it become, everybody does it. So, but if they would just go ahead and admit it and say, we're a business. We are not a school in the athletic department. Nobody has tenure over here. Nobody's going over to teach geology before they go out and coach football tonight. Then that's what the mindset is. They still have an education mindset that these guys are teachers, and that they have a track to tenure or some equivalent in the athletic, and there is no such thing.
I'll tell you what, they're throwing away a lot of money. That's
sure
what
are.
they're doing.
Well, it's not
If
the
they wanna get
coach's
rid of
job to
somebody,
say, hey,
they're
guys,
throwing
you know
away a lot
what?
of money.
I'll tell you what. If you fire me, I really don't need to buy out.
Yeah, who's going to say that, though?
I mean, if the coach says that to you, he may not be smart enough to be coaching your team.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we could debate this for hours, but
I'm just impressed, though, that you lose 12 out of 21 games. They're paying him a $1.25 million a loss.
yeah, right.
Maybe Auburn needs to have somebody go take some math classes or something.
Yeah, they should. Well, my last article here is a game-used Ty Cobb bat from his 1905 rookie season is being sold at auction with bids starting at, any guesses? $100,000. Get yours in soon. The bids close on November the 13th.
Do they guarantee whether he hit a ball with it or hit another player with it?
Oh, he's playing on a sand lot with a bunch of kids somewhere.
Didn't say. 1905, his rookie season. The bids start at $100,000, and the bids close on November 13th. In Cobb's 24-year career with the Detroit Tigers, now he had a 24-year career, he amassed 4,189 hits. Nobody's even close to that. In the top 50 in batting averages. His batting average was .366 in that 24-year career.
That's good.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
He's the leader. I mean, you talk about a great hitter. Now, Ty
Yeah.
Cobb was a great hitter.
I mean,
I don't know. They never
you
did
took-
get mine in the damn deal, but my last year of baseball, I hit .714.
That you were an eagle eye hitter, Ray. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
but
You had to have great vision to hit like that.
well, I practiced hitting walnuts.
That's like my grandpa used to
Yeah.
teach me to hit with a broomstick
Yep.
and rocks in the driveway. Hit the
Yeah.
low ball.
Yeah.
Taught me to hit the low ball
Yeah.
like that. Well, that's it for this week's sports headlines. Now let's bring the spotlight into focus. It's all yours, Gunner.
Okay, we're back. This is Mike Edwards, and we're back with former UT football coach Ray Trail and Marcus Fitzsimmons, veteran sports writer. I failed to mention this back in the Tennessee section, but the Tennessee basketball team opens their season on Monday night. They're against Tennessee Tech. The Golden Eagles will be coming into Thompson-Boling Arena, and that game will start at 7 o'clock. Rick Barnes and that basketball team, high expectations over their markets, so they'll be opening up Monday night.
Well, I don't know why they play these cupcake games. I mean,
Well, I wasn't
who
gonna
wants to
mention
go
that.
see that?
But in honor of Troy, I wasn't going to bring that up. I want him to be here if I'm going to bring that up.
No, I wanted to drag the line out because we use it so much. We criticize the football team so much for it. But when basketball, I want to make that same comparison and note that I think we have gotten to the point that we have the Division I teams are playing too many games. I think their ceiling's too high. I like what Division II and III are at, where they've got a 25-game limit. You've got your conference games. You've got this many non-conference games. You finish at this point. That's it.
Yep.
I really don't like seeing these teams going into the NCAA tournament and have already won 26 games.
Right. Well, we played 25 when I was over there. Of course, you could only play 3 years. Freshmen weren't eligible.
Yeah.
So I think 25 is plenty, but it's all about money. All about
That's right.
money, making money. So the more they play, the more they make. So
Well, they got to have money to pay the coaches.
Yeah.
Then when they leave, they got to keep paying them.
Yeah. Hey,
sounds like a vicious cycle.
I knew this. I knew this was coming, and we might as well talk about it a little bit before we get into the playoff picture. But the SEC is looking into modifying their fans rushing the field or the court. They're going to take a look at it. The incidents where the fans rushed the court or the field here at Neyland Stadium after Tennessee beat Alabama, and they had another rush down there at LSU. I think when LSU beat Mississippi down there, they rushed the field. And so I knew it was coming because you had the incident where the Alabama player hit the young Tennessee woman there on the field. We don't know what she said to him, but when those fans are out there and they're talking and they're taunting and so forth, and you got players trying to get off the field, not a good situation. Not a really good situation. You got a possibility of injuries to fans. You got liability there. Who pays for any liability? Who pays for a court caught? And it's just it's a real difficulty getting players off the field in situations like that. You just open yourself to lawsuits and injuries and everything else. Not surprising that they're going to address that to me, Coach Trail.
Well, they got to. And also, it's to protect the players.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've got all the people running out there and they've been drinking all afternoon, and but the thing is, the losing team has to come through all that to get off the field, and you're mad, you're upset.
Yeah, you're not in a mood for somebody to say something.
And you also have a flip side, and I mean, I don't want to be a doom forecaster here, but when you have a crowd that size running around on that field, you can't assume that everybody that comes up to hug, if you're the victorious team, if you're a UT player after that game, you can't assume everybody that comes up to hug you is actually a UT fan.
Yeah.
Because in that situation, you can't secure the players with 100 of them running around that field all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens if an Alabama fan comes up and does something in that situation? Or an LSU fan comes up and hits an Ole Miss player?
That was one of the largest fan accumulations on a football field I think I have ever seen at any one time. And, of course, instances around the world, we've had several instances where I think there was a Halloween incident in South Korea where there was a mob, and then you got
killed a bunch of people.
and you had a soccer event where they stormed the field and you had some fatalities. Lord forbid you don't want anything like that to happen. And probably the SEC office is probably sitting down there going, well, we dodged a real bullet here.
Yeah.
This times have changed. This isn't 1965 or 1970. This is a whole different deal here. And not to be a downer on a great win and storming the field, but somebody gets hurt on those goalposts, taking them down. I mean, it's just a lot of lot of question marks there.
Okay,
it's
a
another
guy
incident
runs
like
out
what happened.
and he gets hurt. Who pays?
Well, that's what. Is it
That's
the
part-
SEC?
that's
They'll
part of the
probably go
question.
against everybody. The SEC, the school, and
Yeah.
whoever's involved and whatever,
And we're in that era where everybody sues everybody for one.
Yeah.
And we have to accept that there are more nutty people running around just because there's more people alive. Statistically, there's probably just as many, but pure number-wise, there's more of them. So their chances of something happening just keep increasing.
Yeah.
And when you put that into venues, like I know it's the hallowed hills of Tennessee and the stadium's been there for 100 years, but a modern stadium design in NFL does not have that kind of access from the fan to the field.
Yeah.
It's much more easily secured because they have that sort of thing in mind as how do we secure our players.
well-
But you can't do that on the college level where you've got these kind of stadiums that are 100 years
down
old.
here in the South, they're so avid about football. They're very avid down here. You either like Tennessee and you don't care for anybody else, or you like Alabama and you don't care for anybody else, or it's LSU and you don't care about anybody else. And they have a tendency after game's over with to rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Now, I didn't grow up here, but I've noticed this. And that's why a lot of fans, if they're getting beat, they head out before that game's over because they don't want any problems or trouble or whatever, because there's that taunting and, and chanting and so forth and so on. I know that's all part of the scene down here, but it can lead to some issues.
Don't they water the hedges at Georgia? Is that – no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, Marcus, you're from down here. You know all the talk, all the calling and the chants and so forth.
But the main thing is getting the players off the field.
That's got to be your first priority. You got to get them off of there.
And now we got to worry about even more than that.
If they want to storm the field, get the players off first.
You got, and we've highlighted again this week. You've got to secure the players and the coaches from both teams to guarantee their safety, getting them off the field. And the other thing we've seen is some of these venues need more than one way off the field where both teams are not trying to run into a 10-foot wide section to try to get 200 people through that in case you need to get off the field.
That's what happened in Japan?
Michigan.
Japan.
Yeah. But
all those people went into a deal and got trumped.
And listen, even if you get the players off the field, I don't know if Mark was going there, but if you got one entryway onto the field, like up in Ann Arbor, where they were Michigan State was playing, and both players are going in there after the game. Next thing you know, you got a dang brawl right there. Yeah. And why they didn't say, okay, Michigan State, you get off the field right here and through the tunnel, and then we put Michigan on through here, but somehow or another they all got in there together, and now you got assault charges being filed.
Normally they do. Michigan lets the opposing team leave the field first, and then they follow, and things got turned around. But the fact that they only have one way off that field for the players floored me. Yeah, that's one of the biggest. That was the one Neyland Stadium used to rival with. Who was bigger? They both kept doing that addition war. But for a venue that size and that grand with that kind of money to only have one way on and off the field for the players?
Yeah. Let's talk about let's change gears. Let's talk about the college football rankings. And Marcus made up a good point. In the AP polls, you got Georgia number 1, Tennessee, Ohio State number 2, and Michigan number 4, Clemson 5, Alabama 6. And then over in the college football rankings, you got Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Alabama, TCU, and Oregon on down the line. So, Coach Trail, I want to ask you this. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios right now. Let's look at this. Let's look at the Big Ten. Probably going to have an undefeated team there to win the championship, either Michigan or Ohio State. Clemson could run the table in the ACC. If they run the table, they're in the playoffs. They're one of the 4. If TCU runs the table out there in the Big 12, be hard to keep them out of the playoffs. Yep. I mean, you put Cincinnati in there last year running the table, and that's 3 if that plays out. And now you got the Southeastern Conference winner of the championship game, and there's your 4. Yeah. And you're going to see a lot of one-loss teams left out of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they need to expand the thing. 4 teams is not a doable thing. I mean,
they've been lucky.
It's just like right now. If you were to do it, you'd say Alabama's not going to get in.
No.
And, I mean, there's some good teams down there with one loss.
Yeah.
Oregon is a good team.
You got Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama right now. As we talk, they're all in jeopardy.
Yeah.
One of them may be left out. 2 of them may be left out.
That's right.
And you got a Michigan or Ohio State that's going to have 1 loss. They may be left out. TCU, they may be undefeated or have 1 loss. They may be left out. And then you got Oregon, USC, and UCLA out west. One of those could finish and win the championship out there with 1 loss. So you may have a couple. It's going to.
The best thing that could happen
come down to
would be for Oregon to win out.
It's going to be a.
Let Oregon win out and win the Pac-12 because of that opening loss, they will stick that on them and say you got no right to be in there. You went to Georgia and got hammered by 45.
I understand that, and that's going to be brought up. But if you look back at the way it's been handled in the past, they look at what you did at the end of the year rather than what you did at the first. Yep. Remember those? I don't know how they do it now, but that's the way it's always been. If you're going to lose, if you're going to lose early, not late.
Well, that's what Alabama has got to. If they win out, they got beat by Tennessee by 2-3 points.
Right.
Now,
if they win out, that means they've either beaten Georgia or they've beaten Tennessee. They made up for that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So and they control their own destiny. They got LSU tonight, and LSU's ranked number 10 because in the CF rankings because they're still in the hunt. They got 2 losses, but they're still in it for the SEC championship if they beat Bama and win out. But if you got Alabama, they've got LSU tonight and Mississippi next week.
Yeah.
So they win those 2 games this week and next week. We'll know about Bama, and they're going to be in the championship game, and then we're all going to be sitting here going, well, where are we going to put our money now?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know how many times
So
they've been there.
let me just say it because we didn't say it earlier. If Tennessee loses this afternoon, it is not the end of the world.
No,
it
it's
really
not the end of
isn't.
the world.
It may feel that way around Knoxville tomorrow if that happens, but Tennessee fans are used to, in the glory days and what they call the 90s, if they took a loss, it was going to be in September. It was going to be the Florida game.
Yep.
After that, it was like if we were still undefeated in October, things were going to be fine. But that's not the way it is anymore with this where Georgia is on the schedule and what they are now. If you lose this one, yes, you're going to drop, but you are not out of the picture because it's a long month.
But some things have got to happen. Less things are going to have to happen if you win today. But if you lose today, there's going to have to be more things. You're going to do a little bit more scoreboard watching. Does that make sense? From the next 3 or 4 weeks.
But if there's a Tennessee fan out there who you had offered them an 11-1 season at the beginning of the year,
they'd have jumped all over it.
there isn't a one of them that turned it down.
Forget about all that right now.
Oh,
These fans are not thinking about that right now. They're going to think, well, we had it. If it doesn't work out, they're going, oh, we had it, but we let Georgia slip away down there.
Yeah.
And we got in the championship game and we got beat, and then there was these teams that were undefeated in their leagues and we got left out again. It's going to be. It's going to be harder. It's going to be a lot harder.
It's going to be a lot of slow walking and slow talking. I'll tell you.
Yeah. I think we got to pick them soon anyway.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go to break and come back and pick them. Hey, time for a break, and when we return, the panel presents the Shelter Insurance College Football Predictions. You're listening to the Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net.
Your newspaper, that's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Go. Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the panel's Shelter Insurance College Football predictions this week. Marcus Fitzsimmons, we're running short of time, so we got to move, Guy. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, we're going into the 3-minute drill without Troy
All
to
right.
slow us down. We can do this.
All right.
So week 10, I don't have the standings from last week. Troy didn't pass those along to me, but I understand that Ray had a bad week. I had a terrible week.
Coach Trail was 1-4.
I had an awful week, and I think Troy may somehow in his mathematical model be in the lead.
Nope, he had 2-2 last week. Donnie, you were 2-2.
I think I was. Yeah, I think.
And I was 2-2 last
week. Yeah, we had a push, so we didn't get to all 5 games.
We'll get him on all of us back.
We'll
on
get
track
the update when he comes along.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go fast, and I'll do the game and the line. So we're going to take the one that we make the most fun of. You got Clemson at Notre Dame. Clemson's -4 going in. Mike,
Notre Dame.
Start with you. I knew he was going to take the Irish.
Notre Dame at home, and I'm skeptical because they lost to Marshall at home and Stanford. They haven't played very well, but I'm going to take them today because Clemson's they kind of been struggling.
I'm taking Clemson.
Ray's going with Clemson. Donnie, what do you have?
Tigers.
With the Tigers. I hate to say this, but I'm going to go with Mike Edwards here. I'm going to go with Notre Dame because I'm going to believe in the Irish.
We got a good
and
split
I really
there.
want Clemson to lose.
Well, we got them all covered.
That's right.
So
somebody's going to win.
Number 6 Alabama's given 13.5 at number 10 LSU tonight. A tough one to pick, Mike.
I'm taking Bama. I'm taking Bama and the spread.
Yeah.
Bama and the spread. Almost 2 touchdowns advantage here.
Yeah, I'm going with Bryce Young.
Ray Trail, what do you?
Bama.
Bama. And Troy has a Bama. Donnie?
Yeah. Red Elephants.
He's going with Bama.
Bama knows they got to win.
I'm going to be the outlier. I'm
really?
I'm going to go with LSU
and the points.
Yeah.
All right.
That is pretty big spread.
Okay, in case we run short time, I'm going to move them up. So we're going to say Tennessee at Georgia today, and Georgia is favored by 8. The line is
8.5. Man.
I believe the line has moved down to 8 due to the betting.
Okay.
So, Mike, is Tennessee going to can Tennessee win this one? Or
I'll tell you what, I'd say 96% of the bets on this game are taking Tennessee in the points.
Yep.
And everything leads me to believe that that's the way it ought to be. But you know what? I have not gone with Tennessee this entire year on any of this in this show right here, and they're 8-0 right now. Mm-hmm. If I was to take Tennessee today and spoil their day, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
You'd feel pretty bad, wouldn't you?
I'm taking Georgia and the spread.
Georgia and the spread. Ray Trail?
Tennessee.
Ray Trail will take UT. Troy is taking UT. Donnie Moore.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vols, too.
This is a bad sign because Mike and my stars are aligning, so one of us is doomed. I'm going to have to go with Georgia, and for very similar reasons.
And the points, huh?
I have not picked Tennessee on anything this year except the UT Martin game.
Right, we'd doom them, Marcus. We'd be the death of them.
So I'm not going to spoil it. So interesting one. The Kentucky team that got thumped here. How do they respond? They are -1 at Missouri today. And that's the Missouri team. You don't know whether it's going to be the one that beat South Carolina or the one that struggled with Vanderbilt.
Well, they're playing better, and you know they lost a couple of games Missouri did that they should have won, and they're back to I think 4-4. I think going into this game, so got a good win last week at South Carolina, and Kentucky's just I don't know where they're at. I'm going with Missouri.
Home team.
I'm going with Missouri.
Yeah, I am too.
Mike takes Missouri. Troy is taking Kentucky.
Yeah, he is.
Ray, where do you feel
Missouri.
on this? Missouri. Donnie?
I'm picking the Tigers to win.
Donnie's going with Missouri. Well, this time I'm not going with Troy. I'm thinking Kentucky's going to rebound.
And I don't really feel good about any of my picks. I can't.
I know. Okay, Donnie, we got time for one last one, or we need to move on?
No, we need to move on.
Let's move on, then we'll do it with 4 picks this week.
We'll deal with 4.
All right.
Got one public service announcement. It's going on right now, right over at Mary Blunt Elementary School Cafe. A big fundraiser for Feeding Our Kids, fall fundraising event at 131 South Old Glory Road in Maryville in the heart of downtown Allenwick. Go by, and they've got vendors, crafts, yard sale, treasures, and bake sale. Go by and see them. Pick up what you need over there. It's for a very good cause. So go by and see them today over at Mary Blunt Elementary School. Yep. That do it? All right, let's get out of here.
Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Coach Ray Trail, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Troy Provo-Heron, and the pride of Florida State, Brian Johnston. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.